You're the night sky trying to make me see your stars, but the dark gets lonely. Now I see violet, I can feel silence. In the dark, so that I see.
What's going on, guys? It's Coach Steven with 15 Points of Tennis. And growing up as a young junior player, my forehand was a complete mess. So oftentimes on a big point, when I was under pressure, when I was a bit nervous, I'd even run around and hit it inside out or inside in backhand to put the ball away is more reliable, more consistent. Now, at a young age, I just picked this shot up very naturally, and with very little coaching, I developed good habits. But I understand not every player is as fortunate as I've seen a lot of other players fall into this very nasty cycle of getting tight, or stiff on their backhand and instinctively muscling the ball instead of being able to just swing freely. So today, and I could not articulate these concepts prior to me coaching, but we're going to really reverse engineer my backhand, the backhand of that of a natural, and show you how the two-handed backhand stroke really differs from every other stroke that you hit. So hit that subscribe button. We're going to get started right now. Now, to preface this video, the universal swing mechanics that apply to every stroke apply to the two-handed backhand all the same. But there are certain elements and concepts that are accentuated when it comes to generating power with a two-handed backhand. And here's what I mean, right? Like when you hit on your forehand side, your dominant hand, you have so much leverage and strength, power isn't really that big of an issue, okay? But with your backhand, you need to get more out of, again, certain parts, like your body, your legs, a little bit more. So, number one, the key element is being able to get turned properly, because so many players, when moving for out wide backhands, don't get the shoulders turned. See, there's a difference between turning here versus here. This is a full shoulder turn where I get a sliver of my back facing the target. So a great way to teach players to get a full shoulder turn is to actually hit inside out backhands, because look, to get to my target, which is my left, look how far I have to get turned to hit that way. All right, and if you can replicate that same feeling out here, you're going to be in good shape.
This drill is a simple backhand out wide, inside out backhand. Many players don't normally hit backhands inside out, but it teaches them how to get a full shoulder turn. And if you can make your out wide backhand feel pretty much the same, you can really pop the ball. This is particularly important when hitting up the line, because when you hit up the line, you need a little bit more shoulder turn than hitting cross court.
Now, the second thing is being able to get low and use your legs up through the ball. Okay, like forehand, I can stay down and just take a bigger swing, but backhand, if I just stay down here, if I don't have pace to work with, I can't hit the ball very hard. I can deflect pace, but again, if I want to create pace and hit winners, put the ball away, my finishing ball, I need to rise up with my legs. Okay.
A review from previous videos, I can sit on the ball for power and get low and stay low when I'm deflecting pace, but for the backhand in particular, I need to rise to create pace.
And lastly, number three is to keep your spacing in check. All right, like on the forehand, even if I overrun the ball, again, I just take that little extra swing, no problem. But backhand, if I overrun the ball and hit stationary, well, your arms aren't strong enough. So I need to get more out of what I call leaving space to use my collision momentum, weight transfer into the shot. All right, and in that, as you can see, all of these things are important to the forehand. We've covered them before on the channel. I want to reiterate, they're even more essential on the backhand side.
Even more accentuated than the forehand. Moving backwards like on this shot right here, the ball's going to feel heavy on your strings, like it's almost going to knock you backwards off balance. So when attacking, I need to leave space and close at the last second. And that goes for, my shot selection. I have to be very cognizant of, again, leaving space and closing.
Now, moving to the backhand specific topics, you've probably heard 1,000 times that the backhand is pretty much like a left-handed forehand, a lefty forehand. And you're right. So therefore, you need to be able to, with your offhand, be able to follow the ball up and down, hit the sweet spot. and feel that little squeeze of the fingers at contact, transferring the kinetic energy into the ball. So a great way is, practice a few lefty forehands.
If the racket's too heavy for you, make sure you choke up on the grip. But what I need you to feel during this drill is that squeeze of the grip, that tightening of the fingers right at contact to transfer the kinetic energy into the ball and focus the power. Otherwise, you'll be pulling with your body and muscling the ball.
Now, even though you can do that with proficiency, it does not mean you'll have a great backhand, because part 2 of this process is getting your left hand coordinated and synchronized with your right hand together. The general rule is that there's about 80% left hand and about 20% right hand. So still more left hand dominant, but we're going to find in a sec that 20% with the right hand is incredibly important. Now observe the relationship between my two hands and watch my wrists and forearms, okay? As I take the racket back, see I cock my left wrist back to get this racket head loaded. And as I accelerate toward contact, right about from here to here, there's this little bit of straightening out with the wrist, just ever so slightly. And that's a little snap that moves the racket tip right here, pa, right, into the shot. Now, this is critical because if my left hand from contact and into the follow through is moving faster than my right hand, okay, if my left hand is moving faster than my right hand, my strings will actually turn over at contact. And what it does is it really shrinks my strike zone and my margin for error goes way down. I want in an elongated strike zone, and I can only do that by properly using my right hand. So again, watch very closely, racket back, it straightens out right here, the left wrist catches up, but from contact to the follow through to the finish, my right hand and my left hand need to be moving at the same speed so my elbows can rise up together. All right, so it's very important. Left hand squeeze, pop, finish. Right hand squeeze, pop, finish. Both hands together, squeeze, pop, finish. If you can do that, you'll be hitting it clean and pure.
Here is the bad example of my left hand that's overactive. It's moving too fast after contact, which creates this very spinny ball that lands short. A lot of players will just dump the ball in the net like you saw me just do. A lot of times pull up and tighten their chest, get no power. Sure, you can aim higher, but it's not that great of a fix. I prefer to drive through it more flush and more clean. If you look at the right side, both hands are coming up together. And there's so much more margin on this backhand because your strings are facing the target for an extended period of time.
Aside from coordinating the hands, if you think about your swing as making a circle, right, basically a loop, two-handed strokes have a much smaller swing radius than that of one-handed strokes. So when I hit a one-handed forehand, right, I can actually contact the ball much further out in front of my strike zone and still keep the strings very straight to my target. Very straight to my target. Now, with the two-handed stroke, if I keep that same contact point out in front, look what happens to my strings. They're going to turn over and hit excessive topspin. I've also seen backhands that put a slice or a side spin on the ball, or even a backspin if they hit the ball too far and back. So basically what I'm showing you here is the radius of your swing, the small swing radius, it amplifies the effect of hitting it out in front or further back in your strike zone. So before we move forward with the video, I want to recommend you use a grip that's somewhat neutral, in the middle. So nothing too western here where the strings close too much, or nothing too continental where the strings are open and slicing. Feel like you can meet the ball square with like a lefty forehand, meet the ball square in a strong position, finish. Then also like you're hitting a one-handed backhand with your bottom hand, meet the ball square, finish, put both hands together. I think that should be a good, solid, comfortable grip to use.
Don't make the shot any more complicated than it has to be by using some, extreme grip either way. Okay, but note here where my contact point is. It's perfect right there to the side of me. It's not too far out in front. It's not too far behind. If you make contact way out in front of you, your ball's going to nosedive into the net with too much spin and no power. If you don't drop the racket head in time, then your ball's going to have some strange slice spin by contacting the ball too far behind you. Okay, so all the basics here, keeping your head still, getting the early weight transfer shift from one foot to the next, having good posture, finishing on balance, they all apply all the same to this stroke.
Now, everything up to this point has been keeping the strings very flush and square and driving it, flat and deep and hard. But what about if you want to put more topspin on the ball? Well, when it comes to hitting topspin, it's not necessary for consistency, because backhand by nature, inherently, it is a low power but high stability stroke. So I can hit the ball very flat and low and control it over the net and be relatively very consistent. Okay, where players get in more trouble with consistency is putting too much topspin on the ball with not enough power, and the ball either nosedives into the net or it lands short and your opponent's crushing the ball. Okay, so there are times when topspin is needed. If someone pushes me back, I need to hit the ball higher with more loop, kind of like an arcing moonball with topspin. Or if the ball is low and you hit that low ball to bring it up and down for more of an angle. Okay, so let's discuss some options here. Okay, I'm going to use some golf terminology of if I hit that lower outside quadrant of the ball, right? If I cut the ball in 4 pieces, if I hit that lower outside quadrant, I'm going to draw the ball from outside to in. It's going to curve this way. If I hit the inside of the ball, it's going to fade from inside to out. If I hit the back of the ball, it's going to just roll straight forward with topspin. And a lot of the top golfers, Tiger Woods, Mickelson, they talk about how they change the relative strength in their hands, the distributed use of their hands, to select the shot that they want to hit. So if I want to hit this hard draw from outside to in, I'm going to use a lot more left forearm and a lot more grip strength right here at contact. I'm going to squeeze much tighter with my hand. So right here. If I'm going to hit a fade, Tiger Woods talks about keeping his glove, the back of his hand facing the target more. Okay, I'm going to fade the ball like this, like that. I don't recommend you hit much of a fade, but whichever option you choose, again, it comes back down to having a high awareness of both your hands and how they work together.
You're now watching a backhand fade. There's maybe a little side spin and underspin, which doesn't allow the ball to come up and down, which means more so at the lower to mid-level. Some players will use this as a default, but not recommended. Sometimes you'll see a guy like Nick Kyrgios throw this in for variety, but it's rare. One thing to note, players who sometimes gravitate to more of a fade is because they don't have a strong enough bicep and forearm to snap that outside part of the ball. Like right there is an excellent example of extra grip strength and tighter grip, again with that left hand, to bring that ball up and down with a draw. And a draw is necessary when the ball drops low below the knees to be able to actually hit the ball with decent pace and bring it up and down over the net. I'm going to show you an example. I lose my balance on this backhand. This is what most players do. If you don't hit that lower outside quadrant, the ball just goes straight into the net. It doesn't have a chance of getting that arc. Now when people slice my backhand, that's the shape I want, to dip it up and down. Again, one more slice, and boom, I can really step in and hit it because I'm getting extra topspin. You see Djokovic do this all the time, and it's necessary for higher level players because everyone's going to want to slice to your backhand. You need a way to punish them. Also, with that draw, again, you're going to mix up your hitting the back of the ball versus a draw, but you can drive one, and it offers you variety to get more spin for an angle.
Now we'll do a separate video on follow through later, okay, but specific to the two-handed backhand, okay, as you finish, I need you to get both these elbows up and out of the body. All right, these are engaged, strong shoulders. These are weak, collapsed shoulders. All right, so as these elbows come up, look, if I only bring one elbow up, my left elbow, this is probably an extreme draw. We probably don't want that. Okay, if I only bring my right elbow up, this is probably some kind of slice extreme fade. We don't want that either. So your default backhand, these elbows should be coming up together, again, at the same speed.
Right, watch the right side of the screen here, and this is that very tight finish that a lot of players do because they think they want their backhand to be overly compact or feel their core strength, and you can still do both those things, but I need to get those shoulders up and away from my body, those elbows out of my body. This is the proper finish. If you look at the right side of the screen, yes, I'm still compact and connected to my core, but I let the hands go more freely, bring both elbows up.
I also want you to consider, again, if you haven't watched my video series on stop and pop, but I personally recommend for every player's default backhand, as they hit this finish right here, instead of all the way here, I only think you should do a full finish like this if you have incredible timing, or you're a pro, or you're trying to get a ton of racket head speed to put the ball away. Otherwise, if you stop, do this like half finish, halfway, it gives you a lot more control at contact, a lot better aim to focus the power, okay, and keep it on a straight line. So if you can't do this with proficiency, don't try to do that, all right, and finish all the way here yet, all right?
I'm demonstrating here the backhand with the half finish. Okay, I'm almost just pointing the racket to my target. I'm not finishing all the way around and over my shoulder. And this is my default backhand for rally balls, for deflecting pace when the ball's moving fast back and forth. And the question is, what's wrong with it? Okay, how much power do I really need on my rally ball? Here you're going to get a lot of precision and consistency. If the ball's low, I almost always do the half finish. I don't bring it all the way over my shoulder. Now say my timing is great that day, I just want extra pop. Well, now here's the all the way over the shoulder finish. You see how far the racket comes back around my right shoulder. Okay, and when you watch TV, this is likely how the pros are striking it. For the average player, if you're only getting out once or twice a week, I would recommend you get the half finish and the timing on that before you consistently go to a full finish. Now here's just using that half finish and a few points. You can see the control I have with it, its ability to deflect pace. It's very, very compact, so not much can go wrong, especially if I get some forward momentum and collision into the ball. I don't have an issue with power, and that half finish just allows me to place the ball a whole lot better and hit more control shots, like say a lob or an angle. On returns, stop and pop, and that half finish is necessary. Okay, don't even think about following through off a first serve return. And even passing shots, still placement over power.
Lastly, whether you're a competitive player or recreational player, you absolutely need a slice, and I'll recommend my video on the side for that as well. If you're not a super high level player, every ball that's not in this strike zone should be a slice here, should be a slice here, and that's going to happen quite a bit.
There are two cases here. The first scenario, if you're shorter like me, right, your strike zone is small, and to get the ball in your strike zone all the time, you're going to have to run an insane amount, and it's very tiring. So that's where the slice comes into play. If you're a tall player with a two-handed backhand, well then so many balls are going to be low, and people are going to slice to your backhand, so you better have that slice so you don't have to bend your knees like crazy all match long. Again, depending how good of shape you are in.
Alright, so I'm going to end it on that note. In the next video, we're going to discuss my two-handed forehand, the reason why I switched, the mechanics of how to hit it. So that's going to be a fun one. Stay tuned. We'll see you guys next time.
You're the night sky hiding behind dark gray clouds. I can't forget you.